The cargo hold of the Stellar Wanderer reeked of neglect and despair. Among the scattered debris and forgotten supplies, a small form lay curled in the shadows, bound by energy restraints that hummed with malevolent purpose. The creature was no larger than a house cat, its once magnificent scales now dull and patchy from months of malnourishment. 3 months. That's how long the baby dragon had been abandoned here, left to waste away by smugglers who had deemed it worthless merchandise. Adnan pressed his palm against the scanner, and the cargo bay doors hissed open. The human salvage operator stepped inside, his practiced eyes immediately cataloging the scattered junk. Beside him, Diana adjusted her portable scanner, its blue light cutting through the gloom. "Another abandoned ship," Diana muttered, her voice carrying the weariness of someone who had seen too much cruelty in the galaxy's forgotten corners. The distress beacon was automated, been broadcasting for weeks. Adnan nodded, kicking aside a twisted piece of metal. Smugglers probably ditched it when the Galactic Patrol started cracking down on the Proxima route. He paused, his scanner picking up an unusual energy signature. "Diana, you're getting bio-readings over here?" She hurried to his side, her scanner beeping frantically.
"Faint, but yes."
"Something's alive in that corner." They approached cautiously, flashlights cutting through the darkness. What they found made Diana gasp. The tiny dragon lifted its head weakly, ancient golden eyes meeting theirs with a mixture of hope and resignation that no creature so young should possess. "By the stars," Adnan whispered, immediately pulling out his multi-tool. "It's just a baby." The dragon tried to speak, but only managed a weak croak. Its species, the Draconis stellaris, were known throughout the galaxy as beings of immense power and wisdom, capable of living for millennia and wielding energies that could reshape planets. But this one was barely clinging to life. Diana was already scanning the energy restraints. "These bonds are designed to suppress psionic abilities. They've been slowly draining its life force." Her voice hardened with anger. "For 3 months." Adnan's jaw tightened as he worked on the restraints. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy, not always a good one. They were seen as aggressive, unpredictable, and often reckless. But they were also known for something else: their inexplicable tendency to care for creatures that other species would consider worthless or dangerous. The restraints clicked open, and the baby dragon collapsed completely. Diana immediately pulled out emergency rations and water, while Adnan gently lifted the creature, surprised by how light it had become. "Easy there, little one," he murmured, his voice taking on the same tone he'd once used with his sister's children back on Earth. "You're safe now." Over the following days aboard the Stellar Wanderer, something extraordinary happened. Diana, a xenobiologist by training, had expected the dragon to recover slowly. Instead, she watched in amazement as the creature not only healed but began to thrive under Adnan and her care. The dragon, who they had started calling Spark, due to the tiny flames it produced when happy, showed intelligence far beyond its apparent age. It communicated through a mixture of telepathic images and increasingly complex vocalizations. More importantly, it displayed an emotional maturity that astounded them both. "Look at this," Diana said one evening, showing Adnan her datapad. "According to galactic databases, young Draconis stellaris are typically volatile and dangerous until they reach their first century. They're supposed to be nearly impossible to domesticate or bond with." Adnan looked over at Spark, who was currently curled up in a nest of blankets they'd made, purring contentedly as it watched a holographic star chart. "Doesn't seem very dangerous to me." "That's just it," Diana continued, her eyes bright with discovery. "I think the traditional galactic approach to dragons is completely wrong. They're not meant to be controlled or trained through force. They need family. They need emotional connection." What Diana had discovered was something the galaxy had forgotten. Dragons were empathic creatures who bonded deeply with those who showed them genuine care. The harsh training methods used by other species, the Zephyrians' brutal conditioning, the mechanical collective's neural interfaces, all missed the fundamental truth of dragon nature. 3 weeks later, they received a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. The Draconis Magnus, eldest of all dragons and advisor to the Council, wished to speak with them. The conversation took place via quantum link, the massive dragon's image filling their small communications chamber. Adnan felt a moment of anxiety. They were just 2 humans who had stumbled upon an abandoned creature. What could they possibly have to say to one of the galaxy's most powerful beings, young humans? The ancient dragon's voice resonated through their minds. You have done something that has not been accomplished in 3 centuries. You have raised a dragon child to healthy maturity through compassion alone. Diana stepped forward. We just took care of him. Her? Sorry. We're still learning about dragon development. Him. The Draconis Magnus confirmed with what might have been amusement. And therein lies the miracle. Where others have failed through force and manipulation, you have succeeded through the simplest means possible. Love. The revelation sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Within days, xenobiologists from across the galaxy were requesting permission to study Diana's methods. The Draconis species, long considered too dangerous for close interaction, suddenly found themselves with a new understanding of their young. But the real shock came when Spark, now grown to the size of a large dog and shimmering with health, demonstrated abilities that no young dragon had displayed in recorded history. He could not only manipulate stellar energy, but could share that energy with others, healing wounds and even repairing damaged technology through some form of quantum manipulation. It's unprecedented, Diana explained to the gathered xenobiologists during their presentation to the Galactic Science Council. When dragons are raised with emotional security and unconditional care, they don't just survive, they transcend their supposed limitations. Adnan watched proudly as Spark demonstrated his abilities, the young dragon clearly enjoying the attention while never straying far from his adopted human family. Turns out, he said to the assembly, humans aren't the only ones who do better when someone believes in them. The implications were staggering. Within months, the galaxy's approach to interspecies relations began to shift. The human method, treating beings as family rather than subjects to be controlled, started being adopted by other species. Orphanages replaced training facilities, care replaced conditioning, and at the center of it all was a small dragon who had found something he'd never expected in the cargo hold of an abandoned ship. A family who saw not a weapon to be wielded or a beast to be tamed, but simply a child who needed love. As they traveled through space, now with official Galactic Council support for their revolutionary research, Adnan often found himself marveling at how a single act of compassion had rippled outward to change an entire galaxy's perspective. Think he knows he's famous? Diana asked one evening, watching Spark play with a holographic toy they'd bought him at the last space station. I think he just knows he's home, Adnan replied, and Spark looked up at them both, his golden eyes bright with the contentment that comes from being exactly where, and with whom, one belongs. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't technology or strength, but the simple human capacity to care for those who need it most.